We're at the IAS meeting in Amsterdam, and we're here actually with a mother and daughter team. I will call you a team. I'm sure you consider yourselves a team. Basically, we just had the Young Investigator panel, and you were on that, and then your mother was in the audience, so we thought, well, this is a good idea. We could chat with both of you about some of the challenges that go beyond just your challenges. I mean, there's a lot of, I guess you're dealing with a lot of financial stuff, and having the nest get empty as your children go off to their jobs and stuff. So tell us about the circumstances that you find yourself in today with all the travel. We were just talking about travel and how you got here too.
How I got here. Well, we have an added challenge because my husband's disabled, so I very rarely get to leave the country. And I have a wonderful sister-in-law who decided to stay with him so that I could travel. Elizabeth lives in Malawi, and I live in the United States. So we live in two different continents, but it was a shorter distance to meet in a third continent, which was only 6 hours. Flight for me, and I don't know, probably more like 13 for her, but still closer than the United States, so that helped.
And this is not your first conference, though, right?
That's right. Yeah, I went to the one in Durban, the AIDS conference that was in 2016. It was a lot closer to Malawi, just a quick flight.
Right. But for you, this is an opportunity to actually see this is your first chance at a conference?
First chance at a conference, first chance to actually see her at work and what she's passionate about.
So what do you think?
I think it's wonderful. I've learned a lot. I know she's passionate about human rights and HIV, and so it was just really nice, especially at a time like this, leaving the United States when there's so much talk against human rights. So it was so refreshing to be in a place where, because I guess you've heard of the grapevine, if not from the what I call the IAS Symphony Orchestra, the activists that are jumping around making a lot of smoke about this. But it really is a shame that we have the kind of things happening in the United States right now against human rights, and yet they're willing to put a conference there when the commander-in-chief might decide to do anything just before the conference and kind of blow the whole thing up. Hopefully he won't be the commander-in-chief in 20.
Well, we can only hope for that, but you don't put all your eggs in that basket either, unfortunately. So what did you find exciting about this conference?
I was surprised. I knew she was presenting a poster. I didn't know she was going to be presenting 3 posters and be on a panel. So.
Well, she didn't know that she was going to be on a panel either, because we picked her out. But our goal is really to get people that are sitting at home, students especially, high school students, junior high school, and maybe even younger than that are now impressionable, and see the video and say, oh, that's really cool. I'd like to do it. Just the kind of way they pick up an instrument. They hear the instrument in the orchestra and they say, I'd like to play that. Well, this is really exciting in my book, but unfortunately, many people don't have the chance to see or hear about the stories, and that's what we tried to get out of those on the panel, to understand what the science is like, and that it is very complicated and challenging, very, very challenging for the human rights, if nothing else. And then apart from the humanity, we have this issue of money, which actually, if any of the country's presidents would be smart, and some of them are, they'd learn that getting people on treatment is much better than having sick people all over the country. Look what it did. It devastated the infrastructure of Africa in many areas. So we need to have the workforce robust and healthy, and to do that, you're going to have to treat them and prevent new infections. So there's no question about the work that she and all the others are doing. This is good work. So.
And it was also interesting because that question came up with us yesterday. I said, why are there protesters here? Isn't everybody here?
It is kind of speaking to the choir.
So it is. But she said you'd be surprised because you have people who are responsible for funding too, and it's where the funding's going.
Yeah. It's a lot of, it's very intricate, very complicated. And of course, I think some of the protesters are trying to get media exposure beyond the conference.
Okay.
But that doesn't seem to happen as frequently as we'd like it to. Certainly, Elton John was really quite annoyed by where we aren't yet, and in human rights especially. And he, in the press conference, you know, in front of lots of reporters, made some profanities because it just, you know, it's hard to control your emotions when you're in a position like he is. He's putting a lot of money and a lot of his capital into this fight, and yet we don't seem to be making the kind of advances, dramatic advances that he wants to see, and certainly a lot of others of us want to see. So how do you feel about this conference over the Durban?
Well, I was in a different position in my career. I was very new. So I don't know. I think they're both exciting in their own ways. But this one was very special because my mom could come. And so, like you were saying earlier, like this is the best introduction to the field of HIV. And this is what I've been passionate about for the past 4 years. And so having her here and being able to show her all of it is the best part for me. So it's been a very different experience this time because it's, you know, we've been at some of the more scientific talks, but then some of the, you know, at the Global Village. And so some of the things I could explain to her and like, this is where we are with this, and then somebody will say the same thing. And so it's exciting to show someone she's an artist, so someone who's outside of the, you know, direct field, but she's, you know, very passionate about human rights as well. And so it's a really good intro to what we're doing here.
And when did you find that this was the thing you wanted to do? How young were you when you created, or I should say, evolved your passions?
Yeah, I got involved in an organization when I was in college called Face AIDS. It's an organization that branched out of Partners in Health from Boston. It was like a youth club to get people involved in, you know, fundraising for Partners in Hope, or Partners in Health. Sorry, wrong PAH. Yeah, so that's when I started like learning about it, and then I went to Malawi right after graduation from college, and I realized I want to go into public health and have more of a, you know, impact on programming and healthcare systems, things like that.
The one thing that I know that most people get into, they want to be feet on the ground, they want to be hands-on, and they realize soon after they're in there that while that's very genuinely interesting and supportive and important, sometimes being a leader is also important. So sometimes you have to evolve to a different level, and you can have a lot more sway or control over some of the situations. It's happened to a lot of people that were doctors and started companies and startup pharmaceutical companies and so forth. And those are the things that are exciting to see too. And there's such a robust feeling of support for all these issues. Where your excitement or enthusiasm comes from is very different than mine, because I was there at the beginning of the epidemic when it happened and when it unfolded and when it was really scary and grim and dramatic. Today the drama is still that people who we now have treatment, but yet we can't get it to them for a number of reasons. Some are political, which seems absolutely crazy, but there it is. So, but anything else you wanted to offer up? Because it's important to hear from you I mean, I ask questions, but sometimes it's important to hear what your thoughts on things are too.
I think if your children are interested in going into public health, it's a very important field. There's so many areas that are so strongly needed, and let them go for their passions, so wherever they are, because the communications now are so wonderful. She can go very far away and make a difference, and so it's wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having
Thank
us.
you.
It was nice chatting.